Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff live on this Monday. Giants fall to 0-3. They lose to the Kansas City Chiefs 22-9. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff live presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk. He is Paul Dottino. We are here in the Hackensack Meridian Health Podcast Studio. Keep getting better. And, Paul, I'll start here. We talked a ton about this game last week. We talked about it on the pregame show. And I think I said this 3 or 4 times on different shows. This was going to be a low-scoring, generally close game that was going to come down to which team made a couple of big plays to turn it into a victory. And the Giants simply did not make any of those types of plays. I mean, big plays, not many. The Chiefs and the Giants had opportunities, and they failed to. We'll get to those. And the Chiefs made enough of those big plays to get the ball into the end zone and kick a few field goals and come away with the win. So this to me comes down to the age-old thing, Paul. You're -2 in turnover ratio. You don't have success in the red zone. You have the opportunity to get some takeaways. You fail to do that. And you go up against a team that has Super Bowl pedigree, and you can't make those types of mistakes and have those types of shortcomings if you want to win the football game.
You know, without getting too deep into the forest, I'll just say, generically speaking, you got a 6-6 game with the ball and in really good position to get some points. Now, of course, the fact that they lost their kicker, right before kickoff, or at least he was hurt, and as it turned out, Gano wound up kicking some field goal in the fourth quarter.
One, yeah.
He did get one later on. But we know that Brian Daboll said the first fourth down they went for was because he didn't have a kicker. He did admit to that, and that cost them a possession.
And Jamie Gillen did try an extra point, and he had it blocked.
Right.
And, by the way, that was not the fault of the line. It was a low kick.
Yeah. Then you also had, also you got to remember Olszewski had a hold because Gillen was the normal holder.
Correct.
So that doesn't help either.
Yes.
Okay.
I have seen them practice that at practice, though. They have worked on that, but
right,
yes,
but
correct.
They're not the regular guys.
You're right.
All right. So, and then really what it comes down to, and I wonder this, and I didn't ask Russell Wilson this because I didn't get a chance to sit with him in the press conference. When he throws the airmail to the corner for Neighbors, and he underthrows the ball, and he gets intercepted. And to me, that's the whole turning point in the game, because the Chiefs not only wind up turning that with the help of a Giants penalty into points, which breaks the 6-6 tie, but they get the double dip because they get the ball to start the third quarter. They drive 74 yards. They score 10 unanswered points. A 6-6 game becomes 16-6 before the Giants touch the ball again.
Right.
So to me, that's the game right there. In a nutshell, that's the game. And why does that happen? Because the Giants don't make plays in that 6-minute stretch, and the Chiefs do. And the Giants make mistakes in that stretch, and the Chiefs don't. And that's the microcosm of why the Chiefs won the game. And I wonder, though, here's the question that I did not get a chance to ask Russell Wilson, and maybe you will second my opinion. Does he throw that ball? You might not.
No, I'm laughing because I posited the same exact question to Bob Papa and Tiki Barber on the postgame before you came upstairs. I asked him the same exact question.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Knowing they didn't have the kicker available, was he force-feeding, trying to get that big bite for a touchdown? Did he force-feed the play?
Look, and you don't know how not having a field goal kicker changes your play calling from Brian Daboll, for one, and then the decision-making from the quarterback. I rewatched the whole game this morning, like I usually do. I just finished it around 12:25.
And it wasn't any better, John.
On that play, Russell Wilson's number one read is Wando Robinson on a deep route. He looks at that. And the problem you run into is that by the time he gets to Neighbors down the right sideline,
it's too late.
He's already deep into his route. And there's not enough room in the back of the end zone to put it over the top.
Correct.
Now, that doesn't excuse the underthrow. It still was not a good throw. He should have made a better throw. He really did not give Malik Neighbors much of a chance to catch that football.
No.
Has to be a better throw. But yeah, I don't know what his mindset is there. I don't. But by the time, again, he got, because they had about 2 or 3 guys on Wando Robinson on the crosser, by the time he got back to Neighbors, he just had run out of space in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
So he probably shouldn't have even attempted it. But What does Brian Daboll say? You and Malik Neighbors one-on-one, and it's a one-on-one situation. You want to give him a chance to make the play. It just wasn't executed particularly well. We'll say this, and we'll get to the kicker thing in a second in more detail. I thought in general, because of this specific play, I want to bring it up now. I thought, much unlike the Cowboys in Week 2, I thought the Chiefs safeties did a phenomenal job of staying over the top on everything. Mm-hmm. Giants players who were just not getting behind the Chiefs secondary.
I agree with that.
Once or twice they did, and those happened to be plays where the Chiefs got pressure, and you weren't able to let that ball go. But for the most part, I thought the Chiefs secondary played great football. They had 2 safeties back for almost the entire game, and I thought they did a really good job. But look, and Tiki made this point in the postgame show, and it happened to all of us in different ways. We finished the pregame show around 8:05. And, I got 15 minutes before kickoff. I usually grab a little food. I run to the bathroom to make sure I get back in time for kickoff so I don't miss any plays. And as I'm heading to the bathroom, I look down and I see the Dan Salomon tweet. And the reaction, again, and it's nobody's fault, right? Graham Gano was healthy heading into the game. Mm-hmm. It's not like they should have had somebody else active.
He's kicked very well.
Yes, this is just something that happens, so it's no one's fault. But you hear it, and you're just like, come on, really?
I know.
Give me a break. Again, after last year?
Yeah.
And again, it's nobody's fault, but there is and Brian Burns even said this after the game, where it changes things. It changes how you approach things. The defense feels like they have to make more plays. Everything changes, and again, I don't know what the answer is here. Graham Gano was 38 years old. Maybe we're just getting to the point now where he's not able to stay healthy. We might be there. You can't have this in a game, like I said, and this is why I opened the show the way I did, that you knew was going to be low scoring and close, and you have to get every point you can, and you have to take advantage of every possession. Mm-hmm. Without a kicker, it's impossible to do that. It's impossible to do that. So it just made things much more difficult than they had to be. And again, nobody's fault. It's not Graham's fault. It's not the team's fault. It's not the coach's fault. It's not the GM's fault. But it happened, and it just put the team in a very bad spot.
Yeah, and John, the thing that really kind of, I guess, gnaws at me is that over the course of the last couple of weeks, Brian Daboll has told us that, they've even allowed Gillen to take some kickoffs at practice. And he even did. In Dallas, he had a kickoff. Mm-hmm. So they have, coaching-wise, actually, I think they said it was I think Gabriel said it was partly strategy why they were doing that, but also I was saying to myself, okay, maybe this is also a way to maintain Gano's health.
Well, and by the way, they also, by the way, kicked Jude McAtomney a ton in the spring and the summer.
Yeah, they absolutely did.
They didn't even have Gano kick after the first preseason game.
And Gano had gone into off-season training, had told me how great he felt. They were saying he was kicking fantastic. And you're right. They gave McAtomney an awful lot of reps during the entire offseason from start to finish. So in my mind, not only did Gano do everything to make himself healthy, but I thought the coaching staff has tried to maximize his health, and this is still what happened.
And you have McAtomney here in case Graham Gano does get hurt. Here's the problem. He got hurt after
the activation period.
Inactives. So at that point, there's really absolutely nothing you can do. So
no, because the activation period for practice squad guys is 4:00 the day before.
Correct.
So, even if it had happened yesterday morning, it's too late.
Yeah. All right.
So, and what are you going to do?
All right. Let's talk about the defense a little bit more, and then we'll let's talk about the offense, and then we'll touch on the defense very quickly here, Paul, because we already touched on a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. Again, I thought, given the Chiefs are playing their 2 safeties deep most of this game, I thought they ran the ball pretty well. It was probably the best running game they've had.
Yes.
Again, it wasn't dominant. They didn't break off a bunch of long runs, but
it was functional. One of my great words.
It was good enough.
Yeah.
It was good enough. The running game was okay. 1 of 10 on third down, not good enough.
Nope.
0 for 1 in the red zone, not good enough. Need to do a better job down there. And the thing with the third downs, Paul, is they were reasonable for the most part. They were not third and longs. There were a lot of 3rd and 6s, a lot of 3rd and 5s, a lot of 3rd and 4, a lot of 3rd and 7s.
Not double-digit ones.
And I went back again, and on passing plays, the Chiefs did not blitz a lot. They sent a few blitzes early in this game, but they did not blitz a lot. They showed blitz a lot, but they kept dropping back. And it was a lot of four-man rush, Paul, and I thought, especially during a stretch in the third quarter, the left side of the Giants' offensive line had a lot of issues. Chris Jones and Karlaftis had their way with that side of the line, in my opinion, in the second half of that game. In the fourth quarter, Karlaftis was kind of walking Marcus Bowe into the lap of the quarterback an awful lot. Chris Jones had 3 straight plays. I think it was either the Giants' first or second drive of the third quarter where he was able to work past John Runyon. Now, Chris Jones is a great player. That's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
But, again, they were getting pressure without having to blitz, which allows you to keep 2 safeties back. And not just that, they were doing a good job shading a linebacker to Malik Neighbors' side. They were paying a lot of attention to Malik Neighbors. If they didn't have a safety over the top, if he ran an in-breaking route, one of their linebackers would literally, at the snap, turn his body and face towards Neighbors to turn off an inside route and play virtual bracket coverage against him too. So they were doing a lot in their game plan to keep the ball away from Malik Neighbors. And Paul, I got to be honest, we'll get to the stretch in a second, but in general, I did not see a ton of guys getting open in the secondary in this game.
No, and that was going to be the point I wanted to make, is that, first of all, in terms of Neighbors, it was like he was in a shark-infested pool.
No, there were a lot of bodies around him. It was like
just the way it
someone
was.
put the chum in and then everyone just...
That's just the way it was.
Correct.
I mean, they were magnetized to
Hey, look,
number one.
Steve Spagnuolo's not stupid.
No,
He
absolutely
knows who
not.
the Giants want to get the ball to.
We said this last week.
Correct.
You know, on Friday's show with Matt, I flat out said it. It's going to be about Spagnuolo's scheming.
And you said
his
it
pressure
pregame.
package.
You were right about it. Neighbors did not get the catches because he put too much into it.
Now, by the other token, I agree with John on this. I don't think there were enough of open guys. As much as the chum was drawing people to Neighbors, I didn't see enough of other guys getting open on enough of opportunities.
Completely agree with you.
And I'll be frank with you, I don't understand that. I really don't. I mean,
and again, I think some of the pass pressure in the second half had something to do with it. We didn't have time to get open, but not
but
enough.
The pressure was not overwhelming.
It was not overwhelming. You're right. No, I'm not arguing with you. You're right. And look, let's go through that one series in the red zone, because that was the one red zone failure that they had late in the game.
Okay.
The Chiefs were up 22-9 at this point. The Giants drove it down. They had it. Let me make sure I have this correct. After the Wandale Robinson catch from Russell Wilson down the middle of the field, which was an unbelievable throw. 26-yard
4th and
throw.
5, by the way.
Yeah, again, the same type of play versus Dallas. It was cover 2. They threw the little skinny post right past the linebacker, who actually wasn't in bad position.
It was a beautiful throw.
Russell Wilson hit an unbelievable throw to Wanda Robinson, get the ball down to the 4. So on the first play, and I'll go through these one by one. Look, it's a bad sequence. You watch it, but I think there were reasons for all 4 plays in this sequence and why they happened. Doesn't mean it wasn't bad. Doesn't mean people did not mess up and there wasn't people to blame. But at least this is from what I saw, what I'm looking at. The first play on a 1st and goal at the 4. Russell Wilson drops back to throw. Not a ton of pressure on that particular play. It was a 6-man pressure that eventually got there. And it looked like Russell Wilson was trying to get it to Theo Johnson near the goal line right off the snap. But Trent McDuffie is free on a corner blitz, and he jumps. And he kind of cuts off that passing lane a bit.
I agree.
And then Russell Wilson has to bring it back down. He tries to throw it again. He has to airmail it because, again, shorter quarterback, can't get it over the rush. He airmails it out of bounds. They call him for intentional grounding, which I happen to think was the correct call.
Yeah.
I understand the argument. It goes right over Johnson's head, but it was so high. Whatever, whether you like the call or not, that's why that happened, okay?
It was disrupted.
Correct.
I give Kansas City credit for that play.
Yes, and again, that was one of the blitzes they did have. It was a 6-man pressure, and McDuffie was unblocked on that, blitzing off at the slot. Next play. This was the Russell Wilson on a 2nd and 14 at the 14-yard line now. 2nd and goal at the 14.
Right.
The Russell Wilson quarterback draw.
Right.
We talked about it on the postgame show. I'm trying to word this properly, which is why I hesitated. Tiki Barber did not like the call on this play. I went back and I looked at it, and I've been texting back and forth with Tiki this morning about the play. Did you see the alignment from the Chiefs before they ran the quarterback draw?
I was down on the goal line at that point.
I
could not look at the alignment as well as I would like.
Okay. There was literally, between the 2 defensive tackles, about 6 yards. Nobody was there. The only linebacker was lined up over the left end, and the 2 safeties were lined up on the numbers To say there was a lot of room to run a quarterback draw would be the understatement of the century. Now, Tiki pointed out to me as we were texting back and forth, well, you know what? When guys are lined up that way, what are you trying to set up? You're trying to set up a twist, right? To get the end to come back towards the middle.
Sure.
And it looks like that's what it was supposed to be, which I honestly didn't notice it on first watch. Tiki pointed it out to me, which is why I talk to the pros. They see stuff that we don't. I'm serious. Guys, these guys see stuff on tape that we don't, which is why I asked them. And the problem on this play, Paul, is there's so much room. John Michael Schmitz tries to get to the second level to get the linebacker. He does fine. Chris Jones pushes Greg Van Roten right towards the middle. John Runyon gets pushed right towards the middle. Marcus Bowe gets pushed right towards the middle. These guys had natural angles set up by the formation and by the alignment of the Chiefs, and they can't execute those blocks. And Russell Wilson only gains, 4 yards on that play?
4 yards.
Down to the 10-yard line. That should have been a much bigger play.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem when the play was called. I'll be honest.
And for the fans, I get it. Russell Wilson's not a super athlete anymore. I get why you don't like the call. But if you actually look at the alignment pre-snap, I get why they ran it when they did. It actually set up well for the play the Chiefs had called. Mm-hmm. So did not get executed well. But again, if you don't want to run Russell Wilson on that spot because he's an older quarterback, he's not a huge athlete anymore, I get where you're coming from. But to me, you see where that defensive lineman was lined up, and I can even tweet out what it looked like pre-snap. If you guys want to take a look at my Twitter feed, I'll put it up after Paul starts talking here. I thought there was a lot of room for him to run. Though I'm not sure the NFL wants all 22 up on social media.
I wouldn't risk that.
Go find it, folks. If you can find the end zone copy online of that, you'll see the alignment that I'm talking about.
Well, if you have NFL Plus, you can
or NFL Plus. Really, really good point. Absolutely. All right. Any two comments on those first two plays, Paul, before I get to the last two?
Actually, I have no dispute with anything that you've said so far. And again, I actually thought the Wilson draw wasn't a bad call from where I was looking on the sideline. I thought that there was going to be room there. I couldn't see the alignment as well as you did because you're looking at the 22.
Yeah, of course.
From the back of the end zone. I did not look at that series yet. I've actually got to the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I kind of turned it off. I was a little disgusted.
Okay, and now we're getting to the point where we're talking about what we mentioned earlier, where no one's getting open. On 3rd and goal for the 10, Wilson goes back to pass. Karlaftis, again, kind of pushes Marcus Bowe into Russell Wilson's lap.
Oh, I remember that.
And, guys, no one's open on this play. There is nowhere to go with the football. There's not even like a contested throw that Russell Wilson can make.
Correct.
There is nobody open
on
this particular play.
Both plays.
On the second one, I felt like he could have thrown it to Theo Johnson because he's bigger than the guy covering him. And Paul, it's 4th down. Who cares if it gets intercepted?
Right.
Who cares?
That's understood.
No, there wasn't somebody obviously open, but at that point you have to give your guy a chance to make the play.
That part I agree with.
But again, a guy gets pushed back, and this, I believe it was Charles Omenihu in this situation, pushes the Giants lineman back into Russell Wilson's face, and again, shorter quarterback. So he's trying to get it over the lineman's head. He can't get it over the head, and I think he's trying to throw it to Theo Johnson, by the way.
He is.
And he ends up airmailing it over his head, and it hits the crossbar. It looks like a throwaway. He's trying to get to Theo there, but again, he's unable to because he's got a guy in his face, shorter quarterback. I think he said in the postgame press conference that the ball came out of his hand a little bit. I have to go back and I have to re-listen to that.
Yeah, he couldn't fully step into the throw properly, and he lost it.
There's a guy in his face. And what have we talked
No
about
doubt.
since the beginning of this year, Paul?
Front
What's
of
the
the pocket.
one thing you cannot have with Russell Wilson?
Front of the pocket.
You cannot have pressure on his face. But again, I get it. You have 3 uncatchable passes and a quarterback draw when you start 1st and goal at the 4. It looks bad. It's bad execution all around. It has to be better. But again, looking at each one of those plays, there were reasons why each one of those plays went the way they did.
Yeah, I will only emphasize being down there on the goal line on the 3rd and 4th down throws. There was nobody who I would consider, quote, open.
No.
You can tell me maybe Johnson could participate in a contested catch situation.
And again,
I won't argue that.
And you have to give your guy a chance on a 4th down. You can't.
Well, that's for sure.
You have to make the ball.
That's for sure. And again,
and Russ tried. He said in the postgame press conference he tried. He just got away from it.
Yeah, because as a 14-year vet, I'll be frank with you, I would have a hard time believing that he did just chuck that ball away.
No.
It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. A rookie might do that because he has a brain lock. Russell Wilson's not doing
Especially someone that we know is willing to throw the ball up in uncontested catches and let the guys
exactly
make plays. So, yes,
So,
I'm with you on
you
that.
know,
But again,
that would be my only counter on that conversation.
bad execution doesn't look good. We should do the one positive. I'll throw two positives out there. Again, I thought Jermaine Illuminor played a really good game at right tackle.
He's a
For the
solid
pressures
player.
we talked about, again, they did not come from Jermaine Illuminor's side.
No.
He did another nice
He's
job.
a solid player.
And Cam Scadaboo, who now looks like we might see a lot more of him moving forward, depending on what's up with Tyrone Tracy. We haven't heard anything yet, but obviously it did not look great with him coming off the field the way he did.
No.
We'll see what happens there. But Scadaboo did a nice job. I thought he had a couple cutbacks, maybe when he should have stuck play side on a couple of zone runs. But other than that, you know, you like his hands. He breaks tackles. He makes people miss. He plays with energy. He energizes everybody.
Plays through to the whistle.
And him and Devin Singletary. And now it's very important you have three backs.
Dante Miller.
And we could have elevations from Dante Miller now, too. So
I would think so.
I think that's what you're looking at. But those are the two positives I took out of the offensive side of the ball.
John, quite honestly, there were no other positives. It was incredibly disappointing in so many ways. And even defensively, you know, some very important key mistakes. And I know you want to get to that in a minute, but, you know, overall, this goes back to the statement that was made about making the key plays when you have to make them. Did the Giants make a single play other than Scadaboo's 13-yard touchdown where he showed extra effort to dive across the goal line? Did they make any plays above the X's and the O's?
I would consider that Russell Wilson throw to Wanda Robinson above the X's and O's just because it was such a tight throw.
Terrific throw. A throw, though, that he's more than capable of making.
Yeah, great throw, though.
So
great throw.
Agreed. And that's it, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And by the way, same for the defense. And why don't we go over to the Chiefs defense?
And that's what I mean, because it goes for both sides of the ball.
Correct.
And they had chances, as Burns said, to get takeaways and didn't get the ball.
And this is the frustrating thing. The defense was not bad in this game.
It wasn't.
They only gave up 310 yards of offense. The Chiefs were not marching up and down the field. They only gave up 22 points. Now it should have been 25. The Chiefs did miss a chip shot field goal
under 4 yards
game.
a carry.
Yeah, I thought the run defense could have been a little bit better, but it was fine. It wasn't debilitating by any means.
No.
They controlled Patrick Mahomes' scrambling ability, something we talked a lot about in the pregame show that's killed teams this year. They did a good job not letting him scramble and kill him with that.
The 133-yard bomb to the 1 yard line, he extended that play long enough.
I meant scrambling running, not passing.
Okay.
But yes, no, you're right, though. He did, the one to the right sideline.
Yeah, and that unfortunately just getting there a split second too late. And look at the catch that Thornton made too. By the way,
I'm sure Abdul Carter is kicking himself for not bringing Mahomes down on that.
Oh.
He had every opportunity to tackle him on that. I think Mahomes gave him a little stiff arm. I think that's what I saw on the coach's tape. But Carter got two hands on him, and I'm sure he's kicking himself for not taking him down in that situation. I thought Brian Burns was an absolute monster again in this game.
Terrific,
especially in the first half. I thought he played great,
and especially after he went down.
Yeah, he came
right
back.
back
He was
in.
still good.
Came right back in,
and
he was hustling all over the field. I love this guy.
But again, the two opportunities, and I shouldn't say that, 3 or 4 opportunities that I'll bring up here, Paul, is the Paulson Adebo dropped interception, which the Chiefs eventually score on that drive. So that's literally putting points on the board there.
Yep.
Where Adebo, by the way, and I don't know if it was his responsibility or safety was supposed to be there, but the coverage allowed, I believe that was Tyquan Thornton, or is that Hollywood Brown? That might have been Hollywood Brown.
I thought it was Brown.
I think it was Hollywood Brown. Was wide open on the deep post. Like, no one was near him. And if Mahomes makes a better throw, that's a touchdown.
Oh, I agree with that.
And Adebo comes over, tries to make a play because Mahomes underthrows it. Should have picked the ball off, hit him in his hands. He can't do it.
And he's so good with his hands, too.
That's play number 1. Have you ever seen a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes throw 2 backwards passes into the ground before in the same game?
No.
Well, he did it.
He did.
And how many times did the Giants come up with those backward passes?
0.
Bouncing? Correct. The first one was just bad luck on a bounce. He bounces it down. It hits Isaiah, I think it was Pacheco, right?
Yeah.
Right in the chest. He throws it down, goes right to an offensive lineman in his chest. Bad luck. Nothing you can do. There wasn't really an opportunity for the Giants to get to that ball, in my opinion.
Not at all.
But on the second one, there was. And
Bobby Okereke needs to fall on it.
Well, and again, this goes back to the field goal kicker thing. Is Bobby Okereke thinking, we don't have a field goal kicker, do I need to score a touchdown here? And by the way, I also want to tip my cap to Patrick Mahomes on that play. That is one of the best quarterback plays I have ever seen on a loose ball in my
Boy,
45 years of being on this planet.
He bolted after it.
And he rips
dove
the ball
on it.
out of his hands.
Yeah.
He didn't dive on it. Bobby has the ball in
Oh.
his hands.
Not a very
Patrick
good
Mahomes.
Not a very good grip.
Well, I think he was still probably gathering it as he picked it up off the ground. But Patrick Mahomes rips the ball away.
I'd rather Bobby just fall on it.
Yes. Ideally, I agree with you. Bobby also probably didn't think that Patrick Mahomes would be like Usain Bolt coming out of the offensive
He
backfield
probably didn't.
to get after that ball.
Probably didn't.
So I do have to tip my cap to Mahomes. It was a great play. But yes, you got to make sure you come up with that ball. And that will give the Giants the ball inside the 10-yard line.
Correct.
Maybe you score a touchdown. The whole game is different. And when you have those types of opportunities, Paul, to take the ball away from the other team, and you go 0 for 2, and if you want to count the first backwards pass, 0 for 3,
got to get it.
and then later in the game, you had another chance at an interception with Paulson Adebo that he did not come up with. That one was a little bit tougher, in my opinion. But
I'm not crying on that.
other
one.
people have said that. I just wanted to bring it up to make
Okay.
sure we're being. I thought that was a tougher one too. I happen
Yeah.
to agree with you. I don't think that's necessarily totally fair. But look, again, the defense wasn't bad, but you missed those opportunities. The pass rush was good. The pass rush wasn't dominant, right? So you're just not getting quite enough from anyone out there. Again, I thought Burns was fantastic to make enough plays to come away with the win. And that's kind of what you're looking at. Again, we talked about it. Against a team like the Chiefs, every time they present you an opening, you need to seize it. And the Giants did not do that in this game.
And that's what makes it so annoying for the Giants, because the Chiefs were a very beatable team last night.
They're vulnerable. Of course they were.
That's it. Very simple. They were a very beatable team. And the Giants just did enough to squander opportunity after opportunity. And now this is where they sit. And, we'll hopefully find out. I guess, what is it? Dable's supposed to talk at around 2:30 today?
Yes, and folks, I should bring that up, and Paul was going there, I'm sure. I know everyone wants to talk about who the quarterback's going to be. Brian Dable took the same tack that he did in Week 1. He's not going to make any decisions after the game. He talks
Right.
at 2:30 today. It was 1:30 after Week 1, and Paul and I kind of waited to find out what the deal was. We're not going to do that this week since he's going on at 2:30. And I didn't want to get into that whole thing because we're going to have a whole week to talk about that. It'll be Lance and SciTac tomorrow. You can call them. You can talk about that, whatever decision gets made. If you want to call us today and ask us about it, we can talk about it today too. That's fine. I'm not going to turn your calls away. We're happy to have that conversation. But I felt like it was more important to talk about the game off the top here than talk about something we're not going to have an answer to.
Right.
Or we're going to have an answer to an hour after the show. So when people listen to this on the archive, they're going to be like, no, I'm serious. They're going to be
Right.
like, why are they talking about who's going to be
Right.
the starting quarterback when
Right.
everyone knows already? Because Dable's talking at 2:30. So I thought it was more important to talk about the game today.
Yeah, no question. And I think the one thing that I want to stress to you folks out there, I did again talk to Burns after the game, and we played some of that on the post-game show yesterday. It's not necessarily the same old Giants. Burns and other players in that locker room were very assertive in that we know it's 0-3. And there's another game Sunday, and you got to win that game Sunday. But the attitude, the mentality, the togetherness, the leadership group in this locker room is strong enough and good enough that they have not splintered. And you made a comment to me.
I would hope you're not splintering after 3 games.
Well, a lot of other people outside the building are splintering.
Oh, that's true. That's fair. No,
And
you're
you
right
made a
about that.
comment to me. I thought it was very relevant yesterday on the post-game show. And now I'm trying to remember what it was.
Was it that it seemed like the veteran players
Yeah,
on this
about
team-
Wilson. You mentioned to me on the post-game. You asked me. You said you were in the downstairs, Paul. What do you think? I mean, it seems like from what the clips you heard that the team in the locker room, the guys, was still behind the decision to stick with Wilson. And I couldn't agree with that more because I was right up there at a bunch of guys' faces at their lockers talking to them.
And everyone got those questions.
And believe me, the folks who were in charge of writing the newspaper articles, they peppered that subject to death. And nobody was jumping on board. So I agree with you. I think this locker room is strongly behind Wilson. I think they appreciate his career. They respect what he has tried to do to unify this team. And I also believe that they admire his everlasting positivity to try to help, drag things out of the mud.
Now, again, eventually all this good stuff that you just talked about has to turn to wins at some point.
Because at some point the rope breaks.
Correct. And it has to turn to wins. So we'll see how that goes. And again, we'll know later on today who the quarterback's going to be in week number 4. If they make the change, I get it. And I've said this since the offseason that we're not going to know when Jackson Dart is ready. The only people that are going to know when Jackson Dart is ready are Brian Dable, and that, to me, is what's going to – and Mike Kafka and that group, Joe Shane. And that's what's going to guide this decision. And we don't know that. We're not in the meeting rooms. We're not out of practice. We don't know if he's, destroying the defense on the scout team. Like, we don't know how any of that is going. Nobody has told us. Players don't answer those questions in the locker room. We don't have those answers for you. So we'll see what the Giants do. I understand the argument both ways, to be honest with you. I know I'm not going to deviate from what Paul and I talked about all summer. You have a plan to be patient. You should stick with that plan and be patient. I know it's hard. And we talked about how hard it was going to be if this was the situation in the summer. We literally talked about this exact situation and how hard it would become. Well, we're here. This is where we are. And we'll see what the Giants end up doing. And again, no one has a better feel for whether or not Jackson Dart's ready to go than Brian Dable, and he'll make that decision, and we'll see what happens.
This was always one of the plausible scenarios, but one I think everybody was hoping to avoid.
Yep. But here we are. 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Our rapid reaction is up on the Giants Huddle podcast. Make sure you go check that out. It's brought to you by Citizens. You can find it on the Giants app, giants.com/podcast. That is an audio only, so go subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us out. Let's go to the calls and lead off with Kevin in Philadelphia. Kevin, you're first on Big Blue Kickoff Live today. Thank you for your patience. How are you today?
Hey, good analysis, guys. Like a lot of the folks in Giants Nation, I think we're in a bit of a logical conundrum of the worst kind here. I mean, I listened to the analysis of the Chiefs game, the Dallas game, the Washington game, and I even listened to a few from last year and the previous year. And, we get to a point where maybe at a macro level you say, bottom line, this team is not winning. Why are they not winning? Is it the level of talent that has been brought together? Is it the coaching of said talent? What have you? But there has to be some underlying reasons or thinking behind it, because every game turns into, well, if this happened, if this could have happened, the opponent was too daunting, whatever. But the bottom line, like I think you just said a few minutes ago, is they got to win games, and they don't win games, and we need to know why they're not winning games. And I'll give you an example, and then I'll hear your thoughts. So you mentioned in your analysis, here's Malik Neighbors, arguably one of the best 5-10 best receiving talents in the league. Okay, and you've got the Chiefs committing a DB, a safety, and often a linebacker. It then begs the question, you mean to tell me that in the scheming for this game, the offensive scheming, you're not going to have some ways of combating that? And if you can't combat it because you don't have receivers that are capable of getting open, that's a problem. But if you feel that the receivers you have are talented and are of the caliber you want, then you have to lay it at the doorstep of the coaching and preparation. So that's where I get into the conundrum I'm referring to, and would love your thoughts.
No, Kevin, look, I think your overarching point, and appreciate the call. Thank you very much. I think I understand where you're coming from than that. When you're trying to figure out the big picture reason on what's going on, what's the overall reason this thing's going wrong. And I do think week to week, game to game, it's different every week. I think it's hard to say that, okay, well, this is the reason every week all of this is happening. I don't think that's fair. I think every game is its own thing and every game is different. But look, that's the type of big overarching thought and conversation that, that happens way above our pay grade upstairs with ownership. And I wish I had a better answer for you, because I do think there are players on this team that are good. But at the same time, I also know that Brian Dable's a good offensive coach. Like, you talk to people around the league, I've said this before, they all have a lot of respect for what Brian Dable does as an offensive coordinator. People keep trying to hire Mike Kafka to run their offenses. He keeps getting interviews. So the league has respect for what he's done. Why hasn't it exactly come together? I wish I could put my finger on it for you and say, well, this is it. If you fix that, everything's going to be okay. I don't, Kevin, it's a fair question, and I get where you're coming from. I just don't have that answer for you.
You know, one of the other things that Burns said yesterday after the game is that the Giants have not really played complementary football. The game flow has basically been very jagged and ragged because every time you think that they've got a good offensive series, something sabotages it, and usually it's one of their own misfortunes. And then maybe if they get a couple of good defensive series and you think it's going to be okay, well, then all of a sudden something goes wrong on defense. It's a litany of things that just continue to be peppered throughout the games. You're right, John. I wish it was just one thing all the time. If there is one common denominator, kind of through the first 3 games, too many missed tackles. I still think there were a few last night that I would like to have had back.
Yeah, and again,
if I were tackling them.
And I would say this, generally speaking, a lack of execution. Guys not making enough plays and doing what they're supposed to do on any given play. But again, then you can make the argument, well, why are they not executing well? Is it because they're not being in a good position? Are they not good enough to execute well? That gets back to Kevin's question, too, and I don't have that answer.
No. I think, after 3 games, too, I know nobody wants to hear this, but it is a small sample size. And before you start to make very big, broad brush, huge decisions about what needs to stay, what needs to go, what do you want to change, you got to go through more than 3 games. I mean, this is almost like a bite of a cookie. I mean, 3 games is...
Look, in fairness, in 4 games, Paul, you're a quarter of the way through the season.
I know. I mean...
Gets late fast.
It does. We knew it was going to be a struggle. Folks, the schedule was difficult. This was not a secret.
This is why you had to win the Dallas game last week.
Yeah.
This is why you had to win that Dallas game.
How different would you feel right now if you were 1-2? You know what I mean?
Right. And I think the other thing you worry about now, too, is that you see what the Bears just did to that Cowboys defense. And you wonder, well, what that offense explosion last week? Was it your offense was really good, or were you just facing maybe the worst defense in the National Football League?
Has to be consideration.
That's a question, too, right? So all things to consider moving forward here. Let's get back to your calls at 201-939-4513. Let's go to Michael in Mount Laurel. Michael, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
We're good, Mike.
I'm feeling kind of how Kevin just went through, and he basically kind of said the macro environment thing. The biggest thing overall is the last decade. We're 0-3 again. It's the same thing over and over and over. The lack of preparedness, a lack of execution, some holes in the talent on the roster, not building the roster correctly, not fixing the O-line finally, maybe not bringing in the correct pieces. Overall, for the last 10-plus years, we can nitpick different positive things, we can say different excuses, we can do the week-in, week-out thing, but at the end of the day, we're not winning games. And it's all attributed to, at least in my opinion, from the macro standpoint, and you guys mentioned it, what's the one common denominator? The one common denominator is that this team, from an ownership perspective, has not changed or deviated in the last 10 to 15 years. We have to stop doing the same thing over and over again because that's the definition of insanity. We need to bring in third party ownership, operations, think about the way the team is built top-down different. It's not to say anything is a one-week thing. Overall, it's the same conversations every week.
No, Michael, look. Michael, by the way, on the field, I have no argument with you. You're absolutely right. We've had these same conversations going back to 2013. I'll make that. I think it's fair to say that, right? Now, there's different pieces, different people in different chairs, different people doing different things. But no argument. The problems on the field, and look, they change year to year, game to game, largely. But I get where you're coming from, and you're not wrong. The product on the field has not been good enough. There's no argument for me at all. But I will say this. You say the consistency has been upstairs. But I will put this to you. When the Giants hired Joe Shane as their general manager, and look, you want to argue that they tried to keep continuity going from Jerry Reese to Dave Gettleman because Dave had been here previously. I can hear that argument. That's fine. I get that. And do you want to make the argument? Cool. I'm not going to fight you on that one. But they literally said, Joe, do whatever you want. That is what the Marentish family said to Joe Shane. He completely redid the front office, brought almost an entirely new scouting staff. A couple of the pro guys stayed. There are some new pro guys as well. They promoted some guys from within.
Technology investment, John.
There's a lot of new people working on the analytics side of things. they've made a lot of changes, Mike, up there, and they allow Joe Schoen to build this the way he wanted, and they've given him the freedom to do that. I mean, we usually all saw on Hard Knocks that John Mara would have really liked Saquon Barkley back in this building. Joe Schoen didn't think it was the right move. He said, all right, go do it. You're the GM. I'm giving you the ability to do this. So Joe Schoen has had a very different approach than what Dave Gettleman had. It has been very different. He's brought on a lot of different people upstairs. So to me, there has not been a ton of continuity in that way going from Dave Gettleman to Joe Schoen. There has been a lot of changes there. John Mara let Joe Schoen implement the changes, the strategy, and the policies that he wanted to put in, putting this organization and building it from the ground up. And he's allowed him to do that. Now, again, the results look similar. And I understand why that's really frustrating. And I'm not arguing with you on that. You're absolutely right about it. But, and Paul, please stop me if you think I'm wrong on any of this. And then, Mike, you can respond and finish for sure. But there has been, since Joe's gotten here, a ton of changes upstairs in this building.
An immense amount of changes. They basically turned over the whole apple cart. And I would even go further and say that, sometimes when you have coaching staff changes, there'll be 2 or 3 guys who kind of hang around from the previous administration. But if you look at the staffs over the last several years, how many of the guys on the staffs had previous connections to the Giants? Well, there was Spagnuolo. There was Jason Garrett.
Yep.
And after that, who else?
I mean, once Dable came in, that was over. You weren't doing that anymore. That's
Everybody else came from the outside. So, I mean, I'm with John on this one. I don't see a lot of the same folks in those spots or same procedures either happening. Look, I'm going to step out of the box here a little bit, and you can punch me in the arm if you want.
Does it have to be in the arm?
Well, okay. The Giants general manager, Joe Schoen, and his next, second, third people in command, when the Giants go on the road, they go on the road ahead of the team. They go out and see, in person, college games that they are in person doing in addition to the scouting staff.
Yep.
Then they hustle to the Giants road game and meet the team at the road stadium after sometimes each of the guys in Joe's inner circle have gone to see a Saturday afternoon college game followed by a Saturday night college game, then taking a red eye or driving if they have to get to the Giants road game.
And by the way, in week 1, they did Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Saturday night.
Yes.
They did 3 games. That's correct.
So please understand one thing. You may not be happy with the results because nobody else is either. But don't tell me that they're doing the same old thing for the last 10 years. And don't tell me that they are not breaking their bones in every way possible to try to make this team better, because I know it personally.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. It's not a lack of effort or anything associated with that. I know the organization has moved in I would say, a tweaked direction. But the consistency is still there, even if like the ownership made the decision to give and relinquish more power to Schoen. At the end of the day, let's think about it. 10, 15 years down the line, the offensive line is not fixed. We still have coaching issues. We went through McAdoo. We went through Judge. We went through Shermer. Same thing here we probably going to go through Daboll. Maybe it is a thing where Schoen needs more time and maybe Daboll needs more time, but they've had a pretty good amount of time thus far. And the changes that have been implemented in the organization have not resulted in winning football yet. No. And at the end of the day, that's what the fans need, and it's a result-oriented business.
Mike, and that's fair.
That's fair.
And I appreciate
that
the call.
Part is fair.
We are not arguing with that with you. We have not made one excuse walking on the show here today.
No.
0.
Just tried to give you a little more of the full picture as to behind the scenes.
And guys, it's not like, Mr. Mara sitting there watching tape and picking out the offensive tackles to draft.
No,
that isn't what's happening here.
Years ago, the old legendary story about Wellington Mara was that, he would get these college magazines,
Street and
yearbooks.
Smiths.
Yes.
Street and Smiths.
And he would literally try to start scouting guys by looking at the magazines. I mean, this goes back to the 50s.
Right.
That's not what they're doing today, believe you me. Have you seen the video on Giants.com of the, quote, draft war room that is like a Star Trek or Star Wars master ship and control center. I mean, they have done everything they can to update this franchise to make it as competitive as possible.
Please tell me more about sci-fi television, Paul.
Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, there we go. We got a third one. Good job, Paul Dottino. How good you made me laugh there. I didn't think that would happen.
There you go.
All right, let's go to Abdul in Minneapolis. He's been holding the longest. Abdul, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys. What's up? I'm so bummed out that we're having this conversation again.
So are we.
But and of course. So first of all, this is just to comment on something you guys said earlier in the show. I think everyone saw this happening about Grant Gano. The guy missed 16 games the last 2 years. He's 38 years old, right? Like, you guys really didn't think that he'd be hurt again this year? Like, I think that,
No, you're right. No, Abdul, if he would have gotten hurt in a normal way, would I have been shocked? No, but you can't predict it's going to be after. Abdul, let me finish.
Like, you knew he was going to get hurt no matter what. Like, I knew it. Like, everyone I spoke to this offseason was like, why are we keeping Gano? He's going to get hurt this year. Everyone said that. Everyone said that. And lo and behold, third game, he's hurt already.
No, but again, Abdul, you can adjust. If he gets hurt in a normal fashion. No, Abdul, you're not wrong. And if Gano would have gotten hurt this year, I wouldn't have been that surprised. I don't think Paul would have been that surprised.
Right.
But you can adjust when it happens. No one would have called me and said, "Hey, John, you know when he's going to get hurt?"
The day of the game.
10 minutes before kickoff.
I guess my problem for the which is the bigger, which what I really want to talk about is that I think we have a large enough sample selection of right now the Giants have been out-coached and out-GM'd for the past 15 years, and I guess no one knows why, but it's happening again. You know, it's like when you watch other teams, when you watch the Redskins, they were in the same position 4 years ago as the Giants, but they retooled. They got the right coach, they got the right GM, they got the right players, and now they are where they are. And it's so frustrating when you see teams.
The right quarterback helps too.
You know, right quarterback, yes. Exactly. But they got the people in there to make the right decisions, right? And it seems like we just continually get the wrong people to make and it's different people. That's why it's so frustrating. You know, Joe Shane and Dable are different than Judge and the older GM
Gettleman.
You know, Gettleman, exactly. You know, you think like, and I was so for them, but now I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't trust them. I couldn't trust Dable or Schoen to make the right decision as far as I could throw them. Honestly, that's the way I feel. Like I have zero trust in what they're going to do next, and that's so deflating as for fans.
Abdul, I understand.
We're not even in October, and we're like, it's over.
Abdul, look, I understand why you would feel that way. And 0-3, you know? I can't. Nothing I can say is going to convince you to think otherwise because the results are what they are.
I'm not looking for answers.
Oh no, I know that. I know you're not. No, vent, please, vent. It's okay. I got you. I understand.
Yeah. You know, and so people are like, should we start Dart? I have zero. Like whatever they do, I think they'll make the wrong decision. Like, honestly, they started, but I think it's the wrong decision. Like, you know, and it's like it's so frustrating. Boy. To have that feeling, you know, because I was really the one thing I called earlier in August, and I said the one thing that's going to possibly derail the season would be the defensive coordinator and the lack of run defense. And so far, you know, the defense wasn't the problem last game. I can tell you that. But now it's like, because I thought Dable would figure it out with Russell Wilson and Neighbors, and you know, but it's like you're looking at this offense, So the teams that played Kansas City the last two games were moving the ball on them, you know, in the air. Suddenly we can't figure out how to, like, pass with two deep safeties. Like, we don't know how to figure that out. That wasn't some kind of, like, weird, like, you know, eccentric game plan but from Kansas City. It was a two deep safety. They couldn't figure out a way to scheme that. And that's why it's so frustrating when you see that next week we'll see Kansas City get killed by another team, and be like, why couldn't we do that?
Honestly, I'm not sure we're going to see Kansas City get killed. I don't think their defense is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I get you.
You know, so anyway, so I don't know. I'm not really looking for answers. At this point, I'm just thoroughly disappointed that it's not even October, and you know, I'm thinking about next year already. And it's just
Abdul, I get it.
I wish I wasn't here. Anyway, you know,
I get it, man.
I hope they turn it around. At this point, I think they should put in Dart. And hopefully that will open up the middle of the field, and he's a little taller. It might give them more of an option. It might give them, something that Russell doesn't have. But I'm also afraid that, as you said, the locker room still really respects Russell Wilson. And I don't want Dable to lose the locker room, with that move. So it's kind of, once again, it's a tough situation to be in, and I really wish we weren't there. But,
thanks, Abdul. Appreciate the call, my friend. And by the way, the Chiefs are 10th in the league, allowing 183 passing yards per game. Now, some of that got shifted a little bit by what happened this week, but Jalen Hurts did not throw for a lot of yards against the Chiefs last week.
No,
he did not. I mean, to say their pass defense has been bad this year, I don't think is accurate. Just from my perspective.
No, I concur with that. I think the one thing that I will push back a little bit on. We don't know exactly what those routes were when we said earlier on that one drive in the fourth quarter when we saw guys covered in the end zone. And there was nowhere for Wilson to really go with the ball to find an open receiver. I mean, it's easy for anyone to say, well, why didn't they scheme them open? Well, how do you know they didn't have some good plays called and the guys just didn't get open? I mean, it is incumbent upon a player to do what he's got to do to break free from his guy, isn't it?
Yeah. No, look, and Brian Dable said it after the game. When you score 9 points offensively, that's on everybody. That's on the players. That's on the coaches.
It is.
And no one escapes blame for that. So 201-939-4513. Let's go to Coach Kevin out in Arizona. Coach, what's going on?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing all right, Coach.
Not a happy day.
Coach, we actually spoke last week, and it turns out the Chiefs did not blitz a lot. So our little game plan of screens and traps would not have worked out very well as it went.
No. This goes to show you, we don't know everything we should know.
That's true.
I did want to say that I after last night, I think I'm officially coming out of retirement, and I'm going to offer my services to help script situational play calling when you're on the goal line or in the red zone, where you don't empty the backfield. You're gashing them with the run game with Scadaboo and the other backs, and you go and you're on the 4-yard line, 3 minutes left in the game, and you go empty backfield, and you're gashing them in the run game. They were moving the ball on the ground. I mean, there was a couple bad reads by Scadaboo.
Yeah, there were a couple.
We're on the 4-yard line, and you're spreading the offense, and you have Scadaboo out in a trips to the right side. I mean, come on. This is situational football that you have to know, Mr. Kafka.
Well, I will yield to Paul Dottino here because I know he wants to run the ball inside the 10, so I will let him, I think, agree with you on this one.
I'm a big proponent of the power running game, obviously.
They were empty backfield. John,
I know.
They were empty backfield. They were empty backfield the entire series. The 4 plays.
Yeah, Coach.
It was empty. There was
Coach,
no running back.
Look, I understand those people who believe in that philosophy. This is one of those agree to disagree things, right? I'm a power run game guy.
And by the way, Coach, just so you're aware, and I just went and I double checked it. The 1st and goal at the 4 on the intentional grounding. Singletary was in the backfield next to Russell Wilson on that particular play. The other ones were empty, if I recall properly, but the 1st and goal at the 4, Singletary was in the backfield, just to make sure we have that straight.
No, I am a big proponent of powering the ball and muscling the ball in. But the theory behind, and you know this, the theory behind going empty backfield is to, quote, spread everything out so that you get all those defenders out sideline to sideline and allows you more room to do what you're going to do.
I'm not sure, by the way, did you see the next-gen stat coming into this game, how the Giants had run spread more than any other team in the NFL this year?
I had not seen that.
Yes, so...
Lovely.
You're welcome.
No, and you know, but you know what, my man, Kevin. Here's the thing. For me, I would not only load up in the power run game when you get down that close to the end zone, but I'd bring in a jumbo package, and I'm going to load up with 2 or 3 tight ends. I'm going to bring in an extra offensive lineman, and I'm going to smash mouth the ball in.
Now here's the thing.
But that's just me.
I do wonder, and Kevin, Kevin, hold on.
That's what everybody should do, Paul. You're right.
Kevin, real quick. Kevin, 1 second. Kevin, 1 second. I want to ask both you guys this question. You'll have plenty of time to finish. Don't worry. Do you think?
Okay.
Down 22-9, 1st and goal at the 4 with 3:12 to go. Do you think there's a worry that if you run it and don't make it, you're losing a lot of the clock?
That is absolutely a consideration. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's going to be something that you have to compute. I would say this, though, too. One of the problems with the spread offense in that situation is that people get married to it, and they'll often use it even earlier in the game when the clock isn't that important.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I don't think that was necessarily the case in this game, though. I thought
was
the
not.
Giants stuck with the run game.
It was not
pretty well.
It was not the case in this particular game. But in general, the philosophy behind using the power running game when you get in close is not only do you want to muscle the ball in because you want to believe in your guys with the strength and the power and the might and their physicality and their will, but you also want to take some of the will out of the other team's defense.
That's true.
That's a psychological thing. You're trying to beat them into the ground.
Kevin, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I have to agree with Paul on that. And like I said, we're talking the 4-yard line here. We're talking the 4. If it was like the 7, the 8, the 10, maybe there's some room there to maneuver with the spread offense. You got a little bit more space. You don't have any space when you're on the 4-yard line. So I go with the power and get them in there. Look, we are moving the ball. We were moving the ball. What we run for 170, 180 yards. What was the stats on that, John? We moved
I think it was
the ball.
130, right?
I got it. Let me check.
Rushing?
Giants had 130 rushing yards,
Yeah.
4.8 yards per carry.
Now, Kevin, I would add one caveat, and you and I are not going to like this particularly, but we have to admit the Giants' interior offensive line has not exactly blown people off the line of scrimmage.
True, but I'll tell you what, when they took out the left tackle and brought in Bo, I thought that was a mistake too early in the game. I know they had him scripted for 25 plays, but he was fine, and they were moving off that left side. There were some big holes.
Yeah, but the medical staff had put a limit on him.
Thanks for the call, Kevin.
Yeah,
We got to
okay.
run. I appreciate it, man.
Thomas told us after the game. We really didn't get a chance to say that on this program. We talked about it in the postgame.
Yeah.
Thomas was given a medical limit by the training staff. They were like, okay, you can get out there, you can start, you can play, but when you hit your limit of plays, you're coming out. And everybody understood what that was going to mean. And if it was going to be in the first half, it was going to be in the second half, whenever it was going to be, he was coming out when he got to his finish line. They were not going to push him any further.
Man, he did not look happy about it on the sideline either, by the way.
I don't think.
I mean, he understood it and he accepted it. Obviously, he talked after the game,
Right.
but I'm sure he did not want to come
But
out
yeah,
of
I
that
don't
game.
think this was an option. This wasn't like we're gonna talk to you.
Oh, no, there was
and
no
if you
option.
feel better, we're gonna give you more. That was the deal.
It's really sounded like it was set in stone.
It was a finite.
Which is a shame because he played really well for the
I know,
25 plays
but
he
it was a finite number based on the medical staff's opinion of what was going to happen. And there was no consultation. There was no debate. There was no second guess. He's going to play these number of snaps. Hopefully he won't do anything that's going to make himself more injured or hurt. And we're going to get him out.
Yeah, and look, I think we're also seeing, for the bigger sample size now, that Bo still has some work to do. You know, he's not exactly where he needs to be yet. He had some issues. Again, we talked about what was his issue going to be this year, Paul, as a rookie? It was going to be dealing with power.
Yep.
And what does George Karlaftis do best?
Yeah, he does that.
He plays with power. And I think you saw, especially in the second half, some issues there with him getting pushed into the quarterback's lap. People wanted that. You can look at the PFF grade if you want. I know some people like it, some people don't, whatever. But in the second half, especially late, in those goal line situations we were just talking about, there was some issues with getting pressure off of that left side.
I do like enough of what I've seen from him in this small sample size early to believe he's a legit prospect.
Oh, 100% agree. I'm with you. When you have those types of feet, he's got pretty good hands too. I'm with you 100%. I think he's going to be a really good player. But I know people are like, well, when Thomas gets back, do you prove him the right tackle, then or guard, and do you do all these other conglomerations to try to make sure you can get everybody on the field? I'm not there right now. I'm not there.
No.
All right, final thoughts, Paul, before we say goodbye here.
Well, I'm really interested to see what Coach has to say about Tracy because it did not look very good after the game. He was clearly hurting and not feeling well. And because it's a medical situation, he's not required to talk to the press after the game. He does not have to because he's got to deal with his medical issue.
And my guess is that today we're going to get the old. Haven't had a chance to talk to the medical people yet today about Tracy. So my guess is that we're not going to know anything until Wednesday.
We may not. It may be simply he's going for his MRI or whatever it is that he's going to have to go for, and we may not know anything. That absolutely could be true, but I'm hoping for him, not just for the team, but for him, that it's shorter rather than longer.
He was running the ball well, too, before he got hurt.
He was. And, that's the one thing right now that as I sit here at, 1:30 now on Monday afternoon, I'm really kind of hoping that he's not out long term, despite the fact that I'm a big Dante Miller fan, and I'm hoping he gets activated.
All right, folks, before we say goodbye, just a reminder, you can join us at the Ultimate New York Giants Women's Tailgate presented by Joe Malone. It's coming up this Sunday, September 28th, right before Giants and Chargers, 10 a.m. to noon in Lot G at MetLife Stadium. You can hang out with Madeline Burke, who's the tailgate host. Giants legends will be there. You can enjoy a curated custom merchandise shop, exclusive Kendra Scott activation, tailgate games, giveaways, photos, a DJ, entertainment, and a lot more. Tailgate food and one drink ticket are included with the ticket purchase. Tailgate is 21 years of age and older only. All right, everybody, that's Big Blue Kickoff Live on this Monday at 12:30. Tomorrow it will be Lance Meadow and Matthew Sytak with you. Remember, Brian Dable will speak at 2:30 today, and he will let us know I think he'll let us know who the Giants starting quarterback will be next Sunday when the Giants host the Los Angeles Chargers at 1 o'clock at MetLife Stadium. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. Thank you to Johnny Mack and Pearson Butler. We will see you next week, or tomorrow, whatever. Sorry. We'll see you tomorrow on Big Blue Kickoff Live at 12:30. Until then.